All right, and we are rolling. We're rolling right now, and we're with my buddy. Oh wait, hang on one second. I'm gonna actually switch this up a little bit. There we are. There we are. Can you see it? Can we see both of us like that? Okay. Here with my buddy Lance Mergens, and Lance is like just the freaking coolest dude. I mean, look at his hair. No one could actually rock that kind of hair right now and make it look as cool as he does. You know, he's just
check it before you wreck it, folks.
That's what I'm saying. The guy's just got tons and tons of style, and it's actually cool. Like Lance, it's interesting because like you're not like directly involved in the film industry, which is where a lot of the people I've been talking to have been connected to. But we met through our mutual friend Melissa, and she was always telling me, she's like, oh my gosh, like you've got to get to know Lance better. He's just like doing some of the coolest stuff, and it truly is like it. You know, as an actor, sometimes you get honored to play like some really cool like heroic roles where you go out and you save people and stuff like that. But it's super cool because that's literally what you do in life. Like that is what you do. And I've always been inspired by you. It's funny because like, you know, our paths have crossed here and there, like different things, but then we recently reconnected because we have some other mutual friends that we just did a project with. And so it was just like, I don't know, it's just been like super cool to like get to like chat with you just one-on-one. And I want to kind of like dive a little bit more into your story, because a lot of your work, folks, a lot of Lance's work is in Haiti, in rescuing children and helping change the mindset of the people over there so that they don't have to always go and think of like sex trafficking as the way to make money and to survive in their society. And so it's really, really impactful stuff. It's heavy stuff. It's impactful stuff. And, but yeah, and I know you've like just seen tons and tons of miracles, and we'll talk about some of those miracles as well. But dude, thank you so much, man, for joining me and on this venture. And yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll jump in. I attribute most of my success to being born in San Diego. My parents kind of grew me up in a, you know, it is a very laid back environment. So my capacity in what I do is I'm very laid back. I'm very, you know, relaxed in a lot of the stuff that I do. And a lot of times, you know, the gear that goes on in what you kind of mentioned is, you know, child trafficking, and the organization that I've created with a friend of mine. His name's Chet Thomas, who is also in the film industry, who also knows Melissa, which is kind of a funny, like a circle, how it all kind of comes.
And Chet's a good buddy of mine too. I've done several projects with Chet. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. So the reason we're there is, you know, to shut down child trafficking across the border between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So he and I were both involved in a project where this came into mind. Yeah. We saw this kind of thing developing, and you know, we couldn't turn away. It was like we couldn't stop doing what we were doing. So I had an interest in Haiti because I served a mission for the church there, lived there for a couple of years, and I wasn't ever going to go back because it was so, you know, upside down. You know, the methods for living there are so crazy, and you know, I just thought, well, you know, this isn't for me. You know, I don't like being, you know, in this environment where, you know, no one knows what the rules are, right? There's nothing you can rely on. And, you know, I guess
I see that real quick. Can I ask you, when you say that, do you mean like just society itself is like so upside down, or like just so different?
I would say, yeah. So now that I know it better, I would say that I just didn't understand it. Okay. Right. So there are rules, you know, there are unwritten rules, and there's norms and habits that are totally followed through with. But I didn't recognize what the rules were, right? I couldn't identify what they were. And so that made some confusion for me, and I didn't really want to be involved.
Yeah.
You know, but I did have a love for it kind of that started back then. And I got I would say called back to Haiti, you know, via the earthquake that happened in 2010. Okay. It's just this, you know, this major, I mean, I'll tell you, Charan, I saw a dump truck, right? You see, like, you go out on the road here and you see like a big dump truck. I saw a dump truck go by that was piled high with just dead bodies. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, oh, here's a pile of rocks, and it was, I mean, it was like heaping over the top, just individuals that you had no idea who they were, but they were all dead. All
How many people would you say died in that quake?
they say that 250,000 people died in an afternoon, right?
No way, dude. That's
So
it's
the population,
250,000 people in
yeah,
an
the
afternoon.
population of Wyoming died in an afternoon. I mean,
That's
you
insane.
think about the impact of what that would be,
Yeah,
right?
that's
It would be
insane.
quite large. They
So
say,
you're
oh,
like in an afternoon, more people died than the people that have died facing COVID in the United States.
it's
Like
not even
one
close.
afternoon.
It's like I would say COVID across the entire world.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the CDC has updated their results to say that something like 30,000 are
In
going
the
to have their
states.
deaths
Yeah,
attributed to COVID-19.
yeah.
30,000, versus 250,000 is no comparison.
Comparison.
Um, so, I mean, it's like a little more than 10% of what that whole amount was. But by the end of the month, they say, I mean, and there's lots of different um, variations on who's believable, but they say by the end of the month it was almost 400,000 people died, because of amputations and infection. And
Wow.
then that was exacerbated because now people were displaced from their homes. They started having to go to the bathroom not in a sanitary way, and then people were walking through unsanitary locations,
Yeah.
putting that stuff on the floor in their home or were inside their tent, and poor bad access to water, bad access to food, and it caused a big problem. But it caught my attention. It was so dramatic. I was like, man, I guess if anyone can help, it's probably me.
Mm.
I have the capacity to do something because I speak the language, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what drove me back. And then I would say circumstance really has driven my advancement there, because I'm really not that great of a person. I just
So,
I just kind of got into this thing, and it's like, well, I know about it now. I can't do anything about it. I'm gonna have to stay engaged, and that's kind of how I got to where I am. I tried to put a shoe business into Haiti, and what I found out is all of the little stuff that I've tried to do, because I tried to create commerce. Like if because I looked at the people and thought, hey, if they had a way to go to work, if they had a way to make some money, then
yeah.
they wouldn't be living in such a bad way. And then that introduced me to another organization that got, like, where I met Chet. We got off into a Dominican,
Yeah.
Haitian border town, and that's where we started to see some of this real trafficking going on, and that was like shocking, right? I mean,
Because
the
it was like
places where I
it was
lived,
the families themselves, right? They were kind of like giving their kids away. Is that what you're saying for like
absolutely, absolutely.
because they
So
didn't make
I'll give you an
something?
example,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's, I mean, I have extreme examples, but they hit along the lines of what the norm is, right? I met a lady that was seated about like I'm seated right here, but her head was leaning against the shed, where she was living. And she was the mother of 12 kids. All kids are running around, and their oldest was about 11. He was wearing a t-shirt, no pants. All right, he's just running around, and then the girls have pants on, pants and a top, but the boys, they just have a shirt. She has 12 kids, all of them under the age of 11,
How is
right?
that even possible, dude?
I
How
know, it's
crazy.
like, yeah, it's not even possible, but they're all from like 11 different guys, right? Every one of them was a different
Dude,
husband,
really wasn't the
or,
same guy.
not even husband, just
Just
whoever came by and offered to fix the shack, right? So if the guy came in, he stayed for a couple of days, helped fix the roof or whatever it was that he did, and then he got her pregnant, and then there wasn't any reason to stay, so then he moved on. And so this lady's there laying on the ground, and I just said, do people come and ask you for your kids? She said, nope, but if they did, I would offer them. I would give them away
wow.
freely, because I have no way of feeding them. And I mean, she's illiterate, right? She doesn't know how to read or write. She doesn't know how to tune in the television or pick up, she has no electricity. I mean, she is just destitute.
Yeah.
And she just said, if I could get a hold of one of these people that are picking up the kids, I would send my kids away, because I have no. And so,
And you're talking about like people that are doing like sex trafficking and stuff.
right, exactly, and they're groomers. They'll pick out the good looking kids. Like if they think the girl is pretty enough, then they'll choose that girl and bring her over, for sex. But there are other needs that are there, and in this same town, there's a report from a guy that said to me that just a few days before I got there was a boat of young boys on their way to Cuba. So it was, 50, 60, 12 to 14-year-old boys that all, and they're malnourished, so they look a little bit younger, but they were taking them to go to Cuba, which is about 60 miles away, and go use them for, labor in Cuba. So, I mean, there's a market for it. There's people that are trying to, make their businesses go, and they need cheap labor to do it.
It's just so crazy because it's like the environment that you were born in, and just your surroundings sometimes are just so limited, right? And it's such a scarce mindset that you're like, I will do anything,
Yeah.
I will do anything. And at that point, it's like, yeah, I mean, I look at that poor mother, and of course, like her circumstance, her life is such a way where she's like, I can't take care of these kids. I have no idea how to do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
whatever has
It
happened.
was, it was the easiest thing possible for her. And none of her kids had ever gone to a day of school.
Yeah.
They were just poor. And she's not the only case, right? This town is chock full of them. She had a neighbor that had her daughter who was probably 15 at the time. She got picked up by a lady to go to school. So the lady said, I'm gonna send her to go to school. And she was a cute girl. And when I met her, she was 16,
Yeah.
and she had been taken across the border, and they used drugs to try to have her desire sex, get her hooked on drugs, and then have sex be kind of her angle. And she didn't respond very well, and so I guess they drugged her too much, and it fried her brain,
Oh,
so it made her incapacitated.
no
So
way.
they just dropped her off on the border, and a neighbor of hers said, I think I saw your girl walking on the other side of town, just walking aimlessly. And so with that, she got her shoes on and ran out the door and chased her down, essentially. And she was just wandering. She didn't know where she was going.
Yeah.
Her mother said that she picked up dog excrement off the ground and ate it because she was hungry.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh, dude.
so I mean, her life, I would say, her life got ruined, by this trafficking, venue and drugs,
Yeah.
and so it's, if you see this, right, you see a disaster, um, you feel, at least for me, I'm compelled to do something.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, I don't, maybe there's a program, maybe there's an association that's better fit to do this, but I just don't see that. I don't see that I have to do, wait for someone else to do it. I think it's time to jump up and do
Yeah.
something, as best that I can anyway,
Well, dude, it's amazing, man. I mean, that you're willing to do it and go in there and like just figure out ways to like change really the hearts of people, right? The
Yeah.
hearts and the minds of the people, because um, here's the deal. Like I've never been to Haiti, but
Mhm.
I'm from India, and India has got a lot of poverty, and I've seen firsthand like what that poverty does to people. Not just poverty physically, but poverty in your mind and poverty in your heart. And in that world, in that space, it's almost like there are no rules. The only rule is, what do you do the next day to survive?
Yeah.
That's basically what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes to survival, whatever's the quickest, easiest thing is the best option, is the most efficient way.
Yeah.
So even in India, like I remember my cousin was saying how there were all kinds of programs and stuff like put in place to help like homeless people not be homeless, or like thrive and get an education, or whatever it was. But
Mhm.
they chose not to do it. They chose, no, that's just too much. It's just too much effort. It's like, I'd rather just go for the quick survival money, right? I'd rather go for whatever. And I remember like there's one scene I remember that just like, even to this day, I can't even imagine an existence like this. But there was a man that I saw that was lying on the ground who had no arms or legs. It was just his torso, you know. and it was like he literally depended on someone to put food in his mouth. I
Wow.
mean, it's crazy to me to think that that is your life and that is your existence, right?
Right.
And it's like, how do you find, like, it's like, how do you find the meaning in that type of life? How do you find the joy in that type of life? Um,
Right. It's
but
fascinating.
and it's tough. It's a very challenging thing. But especially because, like, we sit here, in America, we've got a lot of comforts, and we're able to, like, just
Mhm.
go and do the things that we want to do and say, oh, I'm having a bad day. All right, I'm gonna go take a drive in the mountains. I have that option to do that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
or or whatever it is. But then you look at a situation like this where the circumstances are just so incredibly horrific that the only thought in your mind is, how do I survive?
Yeah.
And that's it. And a day-to-day existence of how to survive, it's not a, how do you find the joy in that, right? So what have you found? Like, how have these people in these circumstances, how do they find happiness and how do they find joy?
Wow. So, super cool question, and it's something that is always astounded me, because even from the very beginning, like, when I served my mission as a kid, right, I was 19 to 20, 20, 21 years old, and I looked at the Haitian people at that time, which they're a different breed today than they were, 30 years ago. But I looked at him and thought, man, these guys have like zero. They have, literally nothing,
Yeah.
and they're happy about it.
Mm.
And so that you know kind of thread of spirit has carried on in the Haitian people.
Okay.
Not now specifically this lady that was lying on her back and just had a 3-month-old sleeping on a banana leaf inside this broken down shanty. She wasn't particularly happy, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, if you bump into somebody in this area living this life, that they have some joy in what they're doing, and you're like, how could that possibly be? Now, for me, I'm a man, right? I'm a real man, and I get into modes. So if I'm working on something, it's hard for me to like multitask.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? If I'm on a job and I'm working on something, it's hard to to separate that away and look up at beauty and go, oh, look at that sunset, or look at this bay, how beautiful the water is here. Sometimes it's difficult for me to make that transition. I'm working on doing that better. um, I want to say this before I jump into joy.
Yeah.
This condition of mental poverty that you kind of brought up,
Sure.
um, it it's at our own home. This is on our own shores. There's a guy that begs for money just at the freeway entrance by my house in Sandy.
Hmm.
And I remember when he first got out there, he was almost clean shaven. Now he's been out there for a couple of years, and he's got a big old beard. And when I talked to him at first, and when I talk to him now, his mind has grown into this survival that you kind of described about your
Oh,
guy over in India.
okay.
Um,
Yeah.
his mind has changed, and I I would I'm sure I've changed too, but when I see that, I say to myself, the conditions that we're trying to combat, in Haiti and on the border there of the Dominican Republic, the conditions that I'm trying to fight against, there's some of that happens right here at home, and there's people that are struggling with keeping themselves positive, keeping themselves
Yeah.
sane. Because I'll tell you that if you were to talk to him, like I saw my beggar friend at Target,
Yeah.
late at night, he gets in there, and at the end of the night, he has some money that he got. He goes in and buys what he's going to eat that night, and then kind of organizes that, and then he goes to his little underpass and goes to bed. But you know, people, if you talk to him, say he's mentally ill. Like if you talk to him now versus what he was 2.5 years ago, he's way different now. But
Yeah.
anyway, I was just going to say that
In what way? In a good way, bad way? What are you thinking?
I was gonna say in a destructive way.
Okay.
It feels like people are out to get him. People don't like him. uh,
Yeah.
and he probably has some condition, right? Some
Sure.
schizophrenia or bipolar stuff, like, maybe all of us to a degree, but yeah, but he's got some issues too. But I think anyone that would, confront him now or talk to him now would say, this guy's mentally ill. He's not fit for society. But we let him become that guy. And so essentially what I'm doing in Haiti is what I wish I would have done with this guy. And I still haven't given up on him, right? I still, to the degree I can, I support him.
Yeah.
And supporting him meaning I talk to him. I engage him like he's a regular person, because a lot of times I don't think people do that. But anyway, I wanted to say that. But as far as joy and the people that are there, a lot of times if you're being exploited, it's hard to find joy in being exploited.
Yeah.
There's numerous stories that I could go into, and I don't want to get too bad, but there's people that are being physically forced into like sexual behavior, like they're being gang raped. It's hard to find joy in
Yeah.
that, right? If that's your certain
If,
condition.
if that's your condition, if that's your existence, yeah. How
Yeah,
do you do that? Yeah.
exactly. So I want to make sure that I don't step on someone's toes that says, hey, I don't know that I can find joy because the way that my situation is. um so I don't know, for me, I'm an eternal optimist, and I think, hey, this may be super bad right now, but a meteor could fall out of the sky and kill your perpetrator, and then you would be free, and everything would be okay, like in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So let's have hope for that.
Yeah.
And it's totally unrealistic, right?
Yeah.
It's like, some miracle is going to come through and this is going to just change immediately. um you know but keeping hope, I think, is part of where you can find joy, right? You can say, well, there's always tomorrow, there's always something that's just ahead that can totally transform the way that I'm living, something that you wouldn't expect. And I'm reminded of, like, the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks, and he's like, you just never know what the tide's going to bring in. You have no idea what possibility is right there. And so for a lot of the Haitian people that I'm working with, and mostly Haitians, I would say there's a couple of Dominicans that are like contact points and people that I try to work with, but the Haitians that I'm working with, that they see me as a lot of times as some of that light. They're just like, I don't know what's going to happen with you around Mergens. They call me Mergens
Yeah.
in Haiti. I don't know what's happening with you, Rob, but something always happens. Something always good comes, and that hope, that knowing that something's around the corner, you got to stay joyful for that. You say, look, this seems really bad, but there is so much good. Like, I would say, if we were to even like tie it to what's happening with our nation right now with COVID and stuff, I know that people are like finding silver linings to the cloud. Like, I've heard people say,
Yeah.
oh, my family's closer together. We've had time to reflect and get into personal development, some of that stuff. People will say that. I think not just a silver lining, but I think an exact purpose is behind this COVID being such a dramatic switch in the way that we've been living.
Yeah.
So I think aside from really happy circumstances that that come out of it, I think there's some extremely poignant thing that we haven't even identified yet. So I mean, I guess that may come from growing up in San Diego, because San Diego, I just everyone was happy, and
Yeah.
I didn't know the weather was good in San Diego, because it was just the weather that was there in San Diego.
There's the weather that was there, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, man, because one of the things that I just barely had in my mind that just popped up when you're speaking is like, if you have light in you, then it's kind of like, hey, you know what? Share that light, like help people have something to hope in, or whatnot, or have something to get excited about, I suppose, because it's interesting, man. I mean, I look and see like people around me, like those that are like shining their light. Like I can't help but want to be around those people, right?
Yeah.
I can't help but want to be around that for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And the circumstances of like Haiti, like of course you're saying like take away like all the horrible, like the sex trafficking and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those that can find the simplicity of life there, those that can find the joy of just being, you know, the joy of just being present, the joy of just enjoying the sunrise and taking like an awe of it. It's like I feel like that's our responsibility. And you know, it's interesting because like some people think, oh my gosh, I've got to go to Haiti. I've got to go and do these things, which is what you're doing, which is amazing. But what
Yeah.
I also have learned from just my existence in life is like, you kind of live where you stand, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Got to.
there's always places to do good, and you can do good right around you, right around your neighbors, around anything. And like honestly, like just that little bit of good that you do has like a ripple effect, and it can impact the whole world. So I
So I would say, I think a word that describes that fairly well is, you know, the rising tide
yeah
raises all boats. So everybody that's on the surface of the water, as you show your light and you raise that tide, everyone's lifted. And
yeah
I think that's probably enough joy, you know, to carry us through. You know,
yeah
even the, you know, the Haitian folks, it's a beautiful country. It's tropical paradise. And
yeah
you know, when the water hits right, and you know they get green plants and you know
mm,
mangoes and avocados that are really good, you know, and you know you may say, hey, we don't have what they have on YouTube, but you know we got this avocado that we're going to share, and you know, and it tastes good and we like it, you know,
yeah
and then being joyful in that thing that you have is truly like a masterful technique. I don't know, you know, if we can
yeah
continue to develop it, you know, and really allow that to be what brings our joy. So I would say in a spot that's got fairly, you know, dim lighting, you know, there's some brilliant you know, stars that are, you know, they're starting to flourish. I think one of my most rewarding experiences for, you know, for, you know, Haiti is, you know, when I get to talk to friends that I've had now for a long time. So I've been doing Haiti full time since 2014. So about
and so you basically go there like every month, every other month.
pretty much every month. Yeah.
Wow.
I've been home for 2 months right here with the COVID. Like when Utah had that earthquake, I was in the Dominican Republic. I was actually in Haiti, but then
Okay.
I got back. You know that because I
Yeah.
told a fun story on Facebook or whatever.
Which I kind of want you to tell me that story as well. I'm not here if you're cool with it, because it
I'd
was
love to.
like literally, guys, like it is the best. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing ever. But yeah, keep going with what you're saying before.
So I was in there and I came back to Utah at that point, and then I've been home since then. So I
Yeah.
got home like 2 days after the earthquake that happened in Utah, whenever that was, and I'll go back. I have a plane ticket to leave, I think, on June 3rd. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
that's my time that I go back. But yeah, so I spent quite a bit of time, and for a period of time there, so like in 2018 and 19, I spent like 6 months of 18 and 6 months of 19 in Haiti. So I mean, it's a pretty fair amount of time, you know, and I've lived there before, so you know, but I got a pretty good feel for how it is. On this most recent trip, though, I feel like, you know, everyone's like, hey, this COVID thing's coming out, you know, just best stay home, you know, there's no reason to go. And I was like, you know, but I feel like I need to be there. You know, I've got some, you know, some torches to pass on, you know, a baton, you know, a torch to carry, a baton to pass. You know, so
Right.
I got a couple things I need to do. I better be there for those people and make sure that that happens. And I think the minute that that assignment was done, like the things that I needed to accomplish,
Yeah.
you know, I got the prompting to get the heck out of Dodge.
It was
So
it
I
was it was like a Wednesday, right? Didn't you tell me it
yeah,
was Wednesday? Okay. Yeah.
it was so it was a
Yeah.
Wednesday
Yeah.
morning,
Okay.
and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to meet with you guys. So I met with a guy that was like an old district president or whatever. So he's like a church guy, and he's like got some his guts in a, you know, in a grinder, and I got some problems, and he wanted to share some stuff with me. I was able to listen to him and give him someone, you know, to vent to, because I didn't feel like he has anyone that he could. So he
Yeah.
shared that with me. And we got done with that meeting, and the minute that it was done, I was like, oh, I better call JetBlue. And I could talk to the lady, and she said, I got news for you, man. Your borders are closed. You know, Dominican's closing their border tomorrow. You know, I think the Haiti borders are closed right now, and so you better buckle down, or you better get to the Dominican Republic, because you got no flights. And
Wow.
so I was like panicked by that slightly. So I packed
And
my
how
bag.
far are you from the Dominican border at this point?
So I'm 60 miles from Port-au-Prince and then 40 miles to Malpass, which, so like 100 miles, right? And it might be 90 miles, something like that. And it's hard because everything just takes so much time.
For
Like
sure.
here, you want to go drive 60 miles, it takes 60 minutes to go 60 miles on the
Yeah.
freeway. There, it takes,
Yeah, dude.
4 hours. And you're
Yeah.
like, I'm not sure exactly how far it was, but I was on the road for 3 or 4 hours. So
Yeah.
anyway, I went to what would be like the bus stop in St. Mark, which is, north of Port-au-Prince. And I buzz in there, and the first like little mini bus that's taking off is looking like a Dodge Caravan,
Yeah.
or some kind of, but they're these foreign ones that you see like in India, you see in the movies. They got like these tall, skinny vans. You're like, where do, we don't have those in the United States.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got down to what would be the bus stop, and the first bus is full. Second bus has got a guy that's like, I'm holding these seats for my soccer team. They're coming. And I was like, well, this ain't going to leave for a long time. And I need to be the border. I know they close at like 6 o'clock.
And so, what time is it right now?
So right now, I think it's probably like 12:30, almost 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I got to go 100 miles and I'm going on public transportation.
Oh gosh.
So,
Yeah. Sounds
so it was tight. It was tight. And so I'm like, this bus is going to leave hopefully in 5 to 10 minutes. This bus in 30 minutes, that bus in an hour. It's like, I can't wait that long. So I went to the driver of the bus. And so the owner of the bus is like, you're screwed. And I'm like thinking, do I buy a seat from someone that's already seated? Like, I offer him money and I'll get a seat. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that because it didn't feel right. It didn't feel. So I said, how about if I'd ride on the, the luggage rack? And the owner's like, no, you can't do that. I don't have white people riding on my luggage rack. And then, so the driver came up and the driver was mad about something. And I followed his conversation. I said, hey, luggage rack? And he's like, yeah, go for it. So I got up on the luggage rack and everyone's just like, what are you doing? Why are you up there? So anyway, got on the luggage rack.
Climbed up on top and laid down.
Yeah, I just sat up there. I kind of put my backpack down, and there's some other stuff up there. Just kind of leaned up there against the stuff and just took the ride into Port-au-Prince. And as
like 6 hours or however long it was, right?
Oh yeah, it was a couple hours. But, and it's dangerous, and people die on this road all the time. It's, two-way traffic. So you got semi trucks coming one way and these, passenger cars, then all kinds of traffic, goats covering the roads, dogs crossing, people crossing. I mean, people die on this road all the time, at least monthly, and frankly, like it's against mission rules to ride on there now. It might've been when I was there too, but that's what you always wanted to do, is ride on top of a bus, because you're out in the sun. And it's cool, but what happens is these drivers get going too fast. They go around a corner and then it'll tip over. So if you're on top, it's not a really great spot.
Yeah, you're hosed. So yeah, okay. So you're in this luggage rack.
I get in the luggage rack. We cruise down to Port-au-Prince, and it's fairly uneventful. But I talked to the guy that's there. They got a guy that like manages the luggage, so no one climbs up and steals stuff while you're driving. So that guy, I'm talking to him, and have a nice conversation, whatever. We get to Port-au-Prince and we go into downtown Port-au-Prince, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to jump the next one that gets me over to the one that gets me to the border.
Okay.
And
so Port-au-Prince is that's still in Haiti, correct?
Yeah, it's still in Haiti.
Still in Haiti.
Yeah. So I get to that bus station, and I just I see a motorcycle driver. I'm like, I kind of point at him, and he's like, let's go. And so I step off of the bus.
So some random motorcycle dude, right?
Yeah, just random motorcycle guy. And he's got eye contact with me. And believe me, there's a bunch of motorcycle drivers that want money, right? Yeah. They want a job. And I'm like, I'm going to Quadabuque. And they're like, yeah, come on. And there's like a few of them, but the one that I made eye contact with, I knew was kind of my guy. So I stepped from the bumper of the bus, straddled him on the motorcycle, and then boom, just took off.
No way.
For that next bus station. And when I got there,
how long was this ride?
So, I mean, because you're on a motorcycle, you can weave it in and out. It's probably 3.5, 4 miles to the next bus stop. So it's not that far. And then, I get to that bus station and they're like, yeah, hey man, there's no chance that we're getting out of here in time to get you there by 5. And so it was probably like 3 something, 3:45. and no one had said at this time. And while I was on the bus, like on the roof rack and stuff, I called my police buddy that I made, friends with it. And here's the thing, I'm resistant to making friends because everyone, was like, hey, let me get your phone number. And then, every day it's like, hey buddy, I need money for my garden. I need shoes for my kids. I got to pay for school. So I'm reluctant, to give my number out. But I did make friends with a guy that I was crossing the border with, a few months prior.
Yeah.
And so, I was like, hey, this is going to come in handy. So I'm calling him kind of going, is the border closed? Am I going to be able to get through? Because if not, then I need to go to Port-au-Prince airport and try to find some kind of Air Jamaica, something to get me out of town before the borders all the way close. Yeah. So anyway, I called him probably half a dozen times, during that mid-afternoon, early afternoon stage. I get to that other, bus stop in Quadra-Bouquet. They're like, we ain't gonna make it. I'm like, you ain't gonna make it. So then I started looking for another motorcycle driver that wanted to drive 20 miles out to the, out of the border. And it's probably not 20 miles, but it's a long enough way that, you ain't just jumping out there. Not everyone's jumping the opportunity to take me. Yeah. So I get on that guy. I get another guy. He's driving me out there. And, we're talking and we get out there. And as soon as we get close to the border, the police are like waving their hands. They're like,
no.
Turn around, dude. You're wrong. Whatever you think, you're wrong. You ain't doing that.
Yeah.
So, I go up and I'm talking to the guy and I got good humor, I tell jokes and, trying like, hey man, come on, let me through. It's, it's all good. Whatever. So anyway, at the end of that conversation, and the guy's just shutting me down the whole time. And he's surrounded by other police officers that, are also going to kind of hold him accountable for what he says and does.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I can't do it. And I was like, are you sure? Because I was talking to this guy today, and I showed him, because I had him on WhatsApp. So I pulled up his own photo of himself that he has on WhatsApp. I'm like, I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah, you're all good. And now I'm getting here and you're saying it's a different story, so that's kind of a bummer. So the guy's like, but I didn't push. A lot of times I can, climb up on top of a table, start waving my arms in the air, getting upset. But I just kind of aimed a different direction. I'm like, okay, that's all good. That's all good. So I go to the motorcycle driver that brought me out. And I'm like, hey, you want to take me back to the airport? And he's like, yeah, let's go. So he gets on, I get on, and I start to pull away. And he's like, hey, come here. So the guy comes over and I talk to him and he goes,
the police officer, right? He's like,
yeah, the police officer that told me no way. He goes, that guy you showed me on the phone, he goes, he wants to talk to you. So I was literally on my way to Port-au-Prince, and I have a plane ticket that leaves on Monday. It's Wednesday. A plane ticket that leaves on Monday morning at 5 a.m. to go to JFK at Salt Lake. And so the lady on JetBlue just said, and I just barely got made Mosaic, right? It was like the priority. Yeah. So the wait on the JetBlue thing was an hour, but because I was priority, I got through in like 1 minute and a half. Yeah. And then she told me, she said, look, whatever you do, get into the Dominican Republic, that's going to be your best option because the Haitian borders are closed and the flights are canceled. So you're in deep water. So anyway, I'm like, okay, all I got to do is get to the Dominican airport. And, so I get to the guy says, okay, your police guy will talk to you. I go to him and he's like, hey, I've been waiting for you, man. Come on, let's go. So he lets me cross the border. And, he just writes down my passport number and stuff. He says, electronics are down, but you're good. And then I went into the Dominican. I was the only one there. I mean, everything was shut way down. And so I get there, I'm, talking to the guy through the glass, and he's like, there's a problem here.
You're at the airport, or where?
I'm at the Dominican border crossing, the land crossing.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm still 5 hours away from,
the actual airport.
The actual airport in Santo Domingo. So I'm a ways out there. And so anyway, the guy's like, there's a problem here. And he's like, going back and talk to his official. He had me come around to look at me, it's a new passport. It has just a few stamps on it. So finally they stamp it, let me go. And I'm like, okay, hallelujah. Now at least I'm living, in a normal situation. Yeah. So I go and get another motorcycle driver to kind of take me to the Parada. It's like a shuttle stop that goes across the nation. It's like a train station, but, for a small town. And for buses. And so I get over there and the guy's like, all the public transportation is shut down because of COVID-19, man. You're done. The only way to get there is private. And I'm like, well, I got a few days to hitchhike there. You know what I mean? It's Wednesday night. It's it's like 5:40, 5:30 in the afternoon. And so the motorcycle driver's like, yeah, man, that's all there is to it. So I'm paying him. And then the motorcycle driver is, I'm facing him and he's facing that way.
Yeah.
He goes, that bus goes to Santo Domingo. It's like a pink bus that just pulled out on the main road. He says, that bus goes. So we get on his motorcycle again, drive over there. The guy's like, my bus has been broken down all day. I just barely got it fixed. And I'm driving back to Santo Domingo, one last go, So it was like totally shut down. It's like, I'm not going to stay out here for a couple of days. I'm not going to stay out here till Monday. They can't tell me to not drive my own bus. So then I get on that bus.
And nobody else is on there then, right? Is it just you and the dude?
Yeah, it was just me. But then, he picked up other people, right? Because other people wanted to get to Santo Domingo too.
Yeah.
So, we picked up other people. It ended up being, maybe a dozen of us on the bus. But it was a big bus, like, like a bus you'd see, like a Greyhound.
Okay.
The Santo Domingo doesn't play. In the Dominican Republic, they got the big stuff. So anyway, I got on that bus. And while I'm on there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just see if I can, because I had the JetBlue lady check and she's like, no flights available, sir. The next flight available is the one that you're on Monday. So I just got on my app and I'm just swiping around trying to find out, if I can get an airplane ticket. And, it's like one left. And I was like, sold. And
well, wait, it wasn't even JetBlue, right? It was something else?
No, it was JetBlue. It was totally JetBlue. And so I was like, I'll buy it, I'll put it on my credit card, anything. So I'm waiting, and I'm in the middle of the woods. So the internet's it took over an hour for it to confirm. But, I skipped like seat selection. I'm like, I don't care what seat I sit in, just anything. So I skip, and I go through. It takes an hour, and I get the flight that's leaving that day at like, I think it left at 4 something, 4:50 in the morning. And I'm on my way, and it's like 7 o'clock at night. I'm like, okay, so I'm on my way. It's about a 4-hour drive. So I'll get there at 1 in the morning, Yeah. It was crazy. So I get to the bus stop. Everyone's gone. There's one taxi guy. I was dialing up Uber, and Uber's like, cancel. I couldn't get any drivers to come. Finally, this taxi driver's like, how much money do you have? And he wants like double what I've got. I got like 800 pesos.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I talk him into it. And so, the money that I had in my wallet, Sharon,
it was
everything was perfect.
It was the exact amount you needed for everything, right?
The exact money. I had money in Haitian gourds. I had the exact money in Haitian gourds to get me out of there. I had to have US dollars to buy my way into the Dominican Republic. I had the exact amount of US dollars in my pocket. All the ATMs and stuff are, out of order, whatever, or inaccessible. I had the exact number of pesos that I needed to get to the airport.
Yeah.
I get there, I go into the bathroom and like have a military bath.
Yeah.
Because I've been like on the back of motorcycles and trucks and stuff all day. No one in the world could stand to be by me. It was like, so I have this pit bath, in the bathroom there at the Santo Domingo airport. American Airlines and Spirit Air canceled all their flights. So everybody in the world was standing in the JetBlue turnstiles. Everybody in that airport. And I was like, what the heck? And so I get in the Mosaic line. The Mosaic line is just like parked. So I'm standing there for like an hour, and I'm like, well, this plane leaves in an hour and a half. So I go to the lady and I said, what do I do? I'm like, I'm in this Mosaic line. It's not even we're moving. She's like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? You guys get out of this line. And so she takes me to the front of the line.
The other people weren't even part of the Mosaic line. They were just there.
No, they were just American Airlines clients just standing.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
And they weren't pulling them because they knew that they weren't. And so I was like the only one standing there. And I waited my good amount of time, and I gave everyone around me some good humor. But then I approached the lady. She goes, yes. So she takes me up front. I get totally taken care of. I get my ticket in my hand. I'm like, I'm almost there.
Yeah.
And then I go through security, get down there. We get in, get on the plane, wheels up, and Dominican Republic closes the border at like 5:30 a.m.
Completely, right?
Completely, all flights stop.
Oh my gosh, dude!
The last plane out, man.
Yeah.
It was, and had it been done like, 20 minutes later, everything just was like,
gosh, dude.
It was so nuts. And here's the thing: what I resolved inside my head is that the kids needed me at home. Like my kids, they had the earthquake. There was some fear that was going on with that. And had I been stuck in Haiti or the Dominican Republic, I could have survived for a couple of weeks, no problem. but, you know, I just need to be home.
Yeah.
And, we
I
have to
freaking
invite
love
American
that, dude.
food.
Because here's the thing I love about that. It's just like a moment to moment to moment thing, right?
Yeah,
And in that moment to moment to moment, I felt it's like, well, whether you want to believe in a higher power or God or whoever, for me, I
sure.
personally believe in God. And
Universe.
so I believe like guided in those moments. But it's like such cutthroat, like such like if this didn't happen, then no. If this didn't happen, then no, and it's crazy how aware we are of it. But you know what? Here's something else wild, dude. When you think about it, our cells right now are doing a trillion different things at the same time, and they need to all be doing what they need to do for us to function. And we don't think about like all the minuscule, minute things that need to happen
I
from
know it.
moment to moment for us to survive, for us to thrive, right?
Right.
And it was cool for you to kind of go through. I mean, I know it must have been like super stressful, but when you got on that plane and you're like
Oh,
taking off, you must have been like, holy crap! Like I cannot
yeah.
believe that just went
Well,
down that way.
and even like one step even a little bit further was the earthquake hit in Utah, and it
Yeah.
closed the airport for a little bit.
Oh shoot.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was delayed. So like I would have normally been home at like 1:30 or something in the afternoon, and I got home at 9 something at night because they
Yeah.
spread out the way the airplanes were coming into Salt Lake. So even it was even a little more like
Nuts,
I might be
dude.
staying the
Yeah.
night at JFK. I might be trying to get a Greyhound home. Who knows what's going to happen with
Mhm.
the COVID thing.
Yeah.
So it was pretty awesome. It was a
Yeah.
super cool event. I love
Dude, I'll tell you, man. I appreciate you hopping on this call
it. Absolutely.
and chatting, man. Because here's the thing, you're doing some amazing work, and I'm grateful. And I guess like if you were to say like one last closing statement, like one last thing to people that are watching, like what can we do right now? And what would you suggest to people to do right now to, I don't know, make the world better or have more joy? What would you say?
So I think like you point out, you say, hey Lance, you're doing some cool stuff. Every one of us has cool stuff that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Every one of us. You just have to recognize it. And you have opportunities to do that cool stuff every day. And you just kind of keep your eye open and lift that person that's around you. And then that, kind of makes that transformation.
Yeah.
And it ends up being cool. And eventually you may not know that you're lifting, but someone comes back, and puts their arm around you and says, remember that day when, and you're not going to remember because it's nothing to you, but it'll
Yeah.
be everything to them. Right. And so, just what can you do right now? Just look at the bright side,
Yeah.
take like an extra breath and say, man, this part was so cool. I looked at this, I took a picture of some flowers that made me happy. Like yesterday, I was like, dude, these flowers, they're so cool. They were like, I don't know, they were like tulips, but to me, they looked black. And then someone told me they were maroon, but
Mm,
they looked like they were black. I was like, dude, these are like funky flowers. They're so cool.
yeah.
So if you can lift up, just see the awesome, cool stuff that's going on, acknowledge it, and and then that's going to give you that positive energy that like I say, like an aura about you, and then people are gonna sense it, and they'll also keep moving in that direction. So
Man, I love that.
I think you got to do that. I have so many stories, and I just tell your people,
Yeah.
tell all of Charon's friends, you can check me out. I've got like a website that you can go to. I can make me a friend of me on Facebook or something.
Yeah, dude.
And
Yeah.
I'm not lifting the world like Charon's lifting the world. Charon's
Oh,
like doing his thing, making it all right.
uh,
But I try to post on there like what's going on with me, with Haiti stuff. I don't do too much personal jazz, but if you see something that's cool and kind of check it out, and maybe you'll see something that speaks to you and gives you that opportunity to do where you are. Because like you said earlier, lift where you stand. I
yeah.
just happen to be standing on the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. You
Yeah.
know, not everyone's standing there. Everyone else got their own place to stand, and there's things that you're passionate about.
Yep.
And I'm inspired by people. People, even around me, like I'm, you know, doing some, personal, life changes and stuff right now. I see people, I'm just like, whoa, that person is cool. That
Yeah.
person does cool stuff. And so, that's everybody. Everyone needs to start doing that, and and continue doing that. And so I applaud everyone in their movement, their journey. So
That's, dude, you're hitting it right on, man. It's like we can't all do everything, but if we all do one thing,
yeah,
right? And just whatever it is, just lifting someone up, just saying hi to somebody, just
big
being
time.
kind, baking some cookies or whatever it is, just that one little act of kindness,
Hmm.
it literally can change the world. So
Big time. Let's do
yeah,
it
man.
together, all of us.
No, I love it, man. I love it. Well,
Cool.
Lance, thanks, man. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for
Absolutely.
chatting and for sharing your
I'm
story.
glad you thought of me. That's fun.
Of
Just glad
course,
to do
of
it.
course, yeah. And yeah, we'll chat soon. Good luck on your next trip to Haiti. I'm sure we'll chat before then. But
Cool. Yeah.
yeah, man. Good luck. Okay.
Thanks, Sharon.
All right, dude. Take care. We'll see ya.
Yeah.